Okay, folks, welcome to Smart Living. I'm Daphne Monroe, your host, and joining me today is Christina Sewell, the Executive Director of HEP Alliance, who is also with PALS, which is a 501(c) nonprofit organization, which gives people discounted lab tests. So welcome, Christina.
Hello, nice to see you today.
So I'm excited because I always love to offer, my listeners ways that they can save money in the valleys. I was very excited to hear that you have this program where some of your labs cost as low as $5.
That's exactly correct. Yes, some of our labs are $5.
Tell me about this organization called Patients Alliance Lab Services, also known as PALS.
Yes, absolutely. So the PALS program was really born just an idea, that we wanted to really help people on a national level, not just locally. Our organization started as an internet support group. Our original founder and our original executive director was a Hep C patient. Through his experiences with hepatitis C, the treatment and what he experienced, he decided that there was not enough support for people affected by Hep C. He decided to start an internet chat group that grew into a support group, and then Hep C Alliance was born. So we have been working with the local public health departments in the state of Missouri. There's 114. We work with about 85 of those. And we do offer free Hep C testing, education, and linkage to care. We have a great relationship with our lab companies. Our pricing stays the same. So again, we kind of thought, why not just offer this to people across the country who are either uninsured or underinsured?
So basically, mainly your labs are just regarding totally for hepatitis C testing and no other type of lab test?
We do offer ancillary testing to LPHAs. Again, that's the local public health department. Should they have patients that are uninsured and need those services. Because our pricing is so low, we're able to offer ancillary testing. So your CBCs, CMPs, just general labs that your physician would order with any checkup. We can offer those to anyone nationwide.
So for me, being a middle-aged, in my 50s, I always often have to get my hormones tested. Could I go to your labs to get my blood panel done?
You absolutely can. And in fact, we have quite a few of those patients that we process labs for every day. So essentially, a physician, if you're working with a high population of uninsured people, which in our economic climate today is probably not uncommon, if you were a physician working with someone in that situation, you could essentially just send us a lab order. We would then invoice the patient. They pay that up front. So no surprise lab bills, which people seem to like.
Yes.
Yes. So they pay us up front. We then send them the lab rec just like their doctor would give them when they leave the office. They then go to the lab, have the labs drawn, and then the physician receives the results. So it's a very simple, straightforward process. And we do work with national lab companies. We've never had that issue. So it's quite convenient.
So that was going to be my next question. Being that I am very much so localized about it here in Arizona, the state, how can somebody, because I haven't seen I don't see a building that says PALS on it where I can go get
Right.
So if I went to my doctor and she's like, oh, let's draw some blood for you. And she's like, okay, well, let's go to LabCorp. What would I say to her to get yours?
What I would suggest that a patient does, and this is how we prefer to advertise. We have found that word of mouth and working with patients, individual patients that just find us by Googling, they then go to their physician and explain the program to them. Then the physician realizes, hey, I have maybe, 25 people I'm currently seeing that are uninsured, and then they start using the program. So it really is a beautiful process when you build those positive relationships with your clientele. But yes, they would just go to their physician, explain the program to them. And we do also work with a lot of clinics where we're directly working with that provider and not so much the individual patient.
So in Phoenix, where would I go to get my lab?
Sure. So we do work with LabCorp, and that's primarily our partner for the PALS program. We do also have an account with Quest, which we use generally for our local lab testing because we don't have a LabCorp here in central Missouri where I'm located, but LabCorp, they're all over the country.
So if I use LabCorp, they actually draw my blood, but how are you offering this for so cheap? Because to get a blood panel, now I have really good health insurance, so I don't usually have to pay for my blood panels, but I'm going to guess in the past from previous health insurance, those panels would have cost me about $150.
Exactly right. And sometimes people, a patient will call me and say, my copay is way above and beyond what I would pay you for all of my labs. So they'll just insured or not, we have a lot of people that are insured that utilize our program. The labs, the way that they work is they have tiered pricing. So what an insurance company is charged for a lab and what a hospital is charged and what we are charged can be vastly different. A lot of it depends on your ordering volume, how long you've been a client. And so for us, since we've been a client for many, many years, with Quest 20 some years and with LabCorp not quite as long, because of those long-standing relationships, our pricing is very low. We are able to negotiate that pricing. So say I have a patient that orders a lab that's a specialty lab. It might be $200 or $300. Then I ask our lab rep to negotiate special pricing for us, which they do. So I've been able to offer that patient the absolute lowest price that I can, which will always be significantly lower than the cash paying price.
Okay. Got it. So now, how can one find out, because there's so many different types of lab tests that one needs and with different health issues. How would I know what you charge, what is when I should mention it to my doctor or healthcare provider?
Sure. So we do have a website, and on our website, we list our published tests. So that lists every test we offer, the test code, the pricing. Your physician could essentially then go to the same website and pull up our price list, and then they would have access to everything we offer and what those prices would be then for their patient.
I was going to ask you.
It's PALS, PALS, hyphen, so a dash there in the middle, lab.org.
Perfect. And that has a listing of all of your pricings and all the transparency of what everything costs. Can you give me an example, like some of the pricings for more common labs?
Absolutely. So a lot of the labs that we run generally are yearly checkups for patients. So they know when they're going to get these labs done every single year. They know what the labs are going to be. So sometimes those patients will then just order them themselves through our website. But for an A1C, $6. For a CBC, $5. A CMP, which is a comprehensive metabolic panel, that's another super common test. Again, that's $8, I believe. Now, we don't change our pricing unless the labs do, which they like to do. But most of them, the common labs, are under $10. A lot of them are $5. And even some of our specialty labs, for instance, there's the Hep C lab that you would need if you were diagnosed as positive. That lab cash patient price would run you anywhere from $300 to on upside for $700. We offer that for $55.
How do you get away with this?
Because we are not trying to make money. We are only trying to help people. So yes, I could raise my pricing and I could, make a lot of money and help fund our Hep C program, but that's not our mission. Our mission has always been just to help people that need it. So for us, the philosophy is we'll just keep our pricing as low as possible to stay competitive in the market and then just let the business come to us. And as long as we keep a positive attitude about really just wanting to help people, it seems to just fall into place for us.
Sorry, but I'm just like, wow, geez, somebody who's actually not interested in making profit and actually interested in just helping the common good of people.
In the healthcare industry. I mean, yes, I would love to have an influx of money and, funding and be able to help everyone. We just keep our overhead very low. We have low staff. We process all of our own orders. We do everything ourselves. We touch every single lab order that comes in. We're reviewing those to make sure that there are no unnecessary or tests that are being doubled up on, just because we want to make sure the patient's paying the absolute lowest price they possibly can.
So if I were to get blood drawn from LabCorp, they ship it to you guys and you guys actually do the testing and then you send me out the results? It actually comes directly from you guys?
Oh, no, reverse it. So what happens is you would go to your doctor orders the lab, they send us the order form, or the patient can also. And then we process that and submit. So we're essentially just taking the place of what a physician would give you if they're ordering lab. Instead of grabbing that requisition from your doctor staff when you leave, we're going to send it to you. So then we get billed and not the patient or the doctor. No surprise bills from the lab, which we all had those. That absolutely does not happen because we get billed.
So do I pay you before I even go get my labs?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Sorry, I'll slow down.
Absolutely, because then the lab's going to turn around and bill us. And that's an advantage to the physicians because if there's an issue with the billing, we then take care of that and their staff doesn't have to. So that frees their staff up to work directly with the patients and not have to worry about the paperwork or insurance companies. We take care of all that.
Now, I know your Hep C Alliance has been around for a while, but how long has PALS been around? Like, I am just shocked that, you remember when Theranos, we talked about this briefly, when Theranos came to town back in the day when I worked on television, I covered them. They were an incredibly inexpensive lab. It turned out to be one of the largest scams around.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, for me, it was like, I'm always like, lab discounts, I'm apprehensive, but
I know.
they're legitimate. But
Yes, ma'am.
it's just, how does the world not know more about this?
Yes. So, well, and that's the thing is when you're small, the first thing that you're not spending money on is marketing, right? We don't have a ton of investors like some of the other companies do. We solely are at this point relying on word of mouth and our relationships, our existing relationships with our providers. And we get calls all the time from providers just saying, hey, my patient came in and told me about your program. Can you tell me how it works? And then they will consistently start utilizing it. It's a beautiful thing. And as far as Theranos goes, that did make me nervous when it first came out, because if you have the ability to actually accurately test people this way, that would have been an industry game changer. I was myself apprehensive just because I've been in this industry for a while and I know how things work. So it did turn out to be what I thought it was going to be. But
you have to take more samples than a fingertip for blood for a lot of lab tests.
Yes. Blood-based testing is always the best practice when it comes to, diagnostic testing at all. And, you have to have a volume of sample to be able to do that, particularly if a provider's ordering multiple tests.
Right.
So, if you're just ordering a couple tests, you don't really need a lot. But if you're ordering a whole sheet of tests, I guess you're going to have way more than what they were advertising.
Well, I love this. It's called Patient Assistance Lab Services. I will have a link on my blog, which is smartshopperdaphne.com, so where people can check it out. I mean, this is really fantastic, Christine. I actually probably want you back on in another 6 months so we can talk about this more, because I think that this is a really good thing for our community. I mean, $5 labs, $8 for getting a full panel of labs, and you're legit and you're actually taking people's labs. This is great. Now, I'm assuming like you really want people who obviously have a need. You're okay with pretty much anybody that hears about you guys and you meet and you pair up with the labs that they need versus what their doctor wants.
Right. So, anyone can use the program. And like I said, we have a lot of people where we're at right now, just economically. I feel bad in a way because when the country is doing worse as far as our economic, we can do better just because we have a lot of people who say they have age into Medicare, but they cannot afford the premium for their Part B and they can't afford a supplement. Unless they're hospitalized, their labs aren't going to be covered. So we do have a lot of people who are of Medicare age that can't afford their Part B premium. So they will just choose to do labs through an organization such as ours. We're also the only lab that processes orders for minors because we require a physician's order. That is kind of how we're different from other organizations or on-demand lab services. We do require that. They will advertise they don't require that, but patient safety is the most important to us. So we want to make sure if something does come up abnormal or out of range, that someone is following that patient.
To have a doctor behind it.
Yes, and we do have resources. Should someone call and not have a physician they're currently seeing, we do have resources to help folks with that also.
Right, but that's not your primary. You really want to have a physician referral.
Right.
Okay. Well, Christina, this is fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share with us some of those things. And again, folks, I will have all the information of the things that Christine mentioned on my blog at smartshopperdaphne.com. And don't forget, I'm Daphne Monroe, your smart shopper.